What's up, everyone? Old School Law. I am Dantron69K, and I have over here my co-pilot, Wolfman.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Down below me, I got the man, ElHigh in the house.
Yo, what's good, everyone?
And then, of course, over in the dessert spot down there is Horton.
Cheers.
All right, so I'm super excited. Thanks, you guys, for joining me again. This is going to be a fun little chat. I want to keep this one a little bit quicker. You know, sometimes we bleed, and yeah, who knows, though, because we end up rambling, and who knows where this talk's going to go. But I'm super excited to kind of get back to what we have been doing for a while, and what we've been missing for a while is a specific console talk. We've been doing all these other fun things, but it's really fun to get back and talk about something, and I can't wait to get into this with you guys. And so, Wolf, why don't you tell us what we're talking about today?
Yeah, so today is the OG Xbox, which I'm going to say a few quick words. I'm going to make it short and simple. My knowledge base of this system is very sparse. Just a word to the wise, you know, as much as I love all video game systems, I did not get into Xbox until way later in life. I was a Sony fanboy and a Nintendo fanboy. And then once I got older and I started making more money, I started to get the Xbox stuff because I missed out on all those Xbox exclusives like Halo and Gears of War and all that stuff. So I'll probably be playing devil's advocate and adding, you know, what little knowledge that I do know. So I'm going to pass it off.
All right. Hey, Horton, as the guest and somebody who is deep in Xbox history, why don't you go ahead and give us some facts on the console itself or any of the hardware portion of it, maybe even software.
I think so. There's software involved too, because that was part of the history of the Xbox. And one of the things that I found really fascinating by the Xbox and why I purchased it, pre-ordered it out of the gate, having no track record or history with consoles, but a steeped history with PC gaming. It was really fascinating to me to see what Bill Gates was trying to do at the time. He was a passionate game lover, right? He obviously PC gaming was a basically Windows platform based kind of approach. So he saw the future of, you know, instead of this proprietary hardware and stuff for consoles, it was kind of like the intersection of PC gaming and console gaming together. And that was his thought process for the Xbox, right? So
can I touch on something real quick?
Yeah.
There was actually a catalyst. If you do the research in there, there was a catalyst. Sony put out, when the PlayStation 2 launched, it put out that this was what he had said, is that this is going to rival home PC market, and I see this as the main hub where that's going to happen. And that's what Bill Gates heard. And Bill Gates goes, whoa, hold up. I'm trying to get PCs in everyone's houses. Sony has a big install base. I got to start looking into this. But anyways, go ahead, continue, Horton.
Hey, no, I think you're spot on. I think that what Bill Gates had seen with others, he had a real appreciation for Sega. And so what they had done with the Dreamcast. And the Dreamcast is, you know, probably as recently, right? People come to really appreciate the Dreamcast as a console and what it could actually do, because it is pretty amazing. But I think it had a lot of barriers of entry into the console space in terms of costs and other things. But I think Bill Gates saw that and said, like, well, what if we make this easier? I think one of the other things, the big catalyst was you had some really big game and storied kind of game makers. I'm trying to remember if it was a couple of them. Who made Fable?
Peter Molyneux or something.
No, that was Microsoft Studios, though. That was, who was it? Hang on, I got that.
It was Lionhead Studio.
Yeah, Lionhead. You're right. Yep.
But some of the Japanese ones, even there was like developing for the PlayStation 2 was a pain in the ass. And so I know one thing that Microsoft was trying to do is like, well, what if we made it easy for studios to port games over from PC to the Xbox and some of these other things, and then some radical ideas about, well, if we had more storage space and the introduction of the hard drive into a console system, right? A lot of the games that we talk about, like the game I'm going to bring up later, you know, they wouldn't be able to render everything without the massive amounts of storage and other things. The other really fascinating thing for me was the introduction of an Ethernet. Right.
True
which
broadband.
Was, you know, the promise of, And I've got stories upon stories that I'm sure we'll talk about with me and my fellas. I was in the IT world. In fact, I was working for Microsoft when the Xbox first came out. I was going out to Redmond, and I remember playing the first time in one of their massive auditoriums, the Xbox, playing Halo, which is, spoiler alert, one of the games on my list today, on a huge screen, and it was actually networked between the two other massive auditoriums that they had, right? And so being able to have network play and that kind of stuff, and then obviously later down the road, the introduction of Xbox Live and some of the other services and that kind of stuff, it was just a really ahead of its time, and a lot in terms of its approach, but then also some of the hardware introductions into the platform and software that then just became standard. Like it was a precursor to what everybody does today, right? And for years, even until even probably just recently, you think about Xbox Live was the premier platform for playing online. I don't care what you say. I unless it was a PC maybe, but it was truly the easiest, almost plug and play. It's probably gotten worse with crossplay and everything else. Yeah. But at the time, it was just so easy to connect, have conversations while you're playing, whether it be a co-op game or player versus player, whatever it was. It was the gold standard for years, going into Xbox 360 years and everything else. But we can go down. There's a whole bunch of interesting stuff that happened in terms of like why Microsoft even got into the console game, how they tried to get into it. You know, they really, when Bill Gates came up with this idea and for this Xbox, they really just literally tore up a Dell laptop and started throwing stuff together. So it was a really cool idea. There's even interesting stories. I'm sure you guys have got a ton also, but like, why is it green? And a lot of it was like they just wanted to go black, but then in Japan you couldn't have just black because it represented death. But then the PlayStation 2 was black, so it was obviously this double standard. So, and then the green that came, and I can't remember who one of the founders or one of the initial creators of Xbox, but the story is I don't know, it was supposed to be electronic something, but actually we came out years later that it was the only marker he had left, color marker he had left. All his other ones had been stolen or something. So there's some crazy stories.
Yeah, it's a great console. A couple of things that I'll talk about just real quick is touch on the hardware portion. So like Horton said, it did have a DVD base drive in it, and it had a hardware. It had the actual first console that had a hard drive built into it for game saves. There was actually games that you could rip CDs on, and I'll talk about some of those stuff later. But you could rip a CD on here and play it in the background. I remember listening to Chop Suey, System of a Down, Chop Suey playing racing games. Just wake up, just sliding around corners. Oh, dude, it's so awesome. The Ethernet port. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, this back to the DVD player, that in itself, being able to, it was a DVD player, so you watch DVDs, but then also it was a CD ripper. Like, it was crazy, and it was built for media consumption. Yeah, so
you needed to have
we'll get
this.
into the modding scene and all that kind of stuff, because like I said, my first media player was an Xbox with XBMC. So
yeah, it Intel processor, an actual NVIDIA, what was it? GeForce 3 or something like that, I think is what it was. Came out, it was originally launched in November 15th, I think 2001. It worldwide was shut down around 2006 at some point, 2006. So not really a long lifespan. I want to say that they sold something like 24,000 units, is that right? No, 24 million units, something like that.
24,000 would have sucked.
Yeah, 24 million. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember exactly, but something like that. Anyways, and but it had games built for like Western markets, so it struggled kind of over in Japan and stuff like that. Like, you won't find a lot of JRPGs and stuff on there, but hardware-wise, this thing was it's like the grandfather, the precursor to how all new consoles are made. Like, you have a processor, you have graphics cards, you have hard drive capabilities, you have online capabilities. Period. Full stop. It's the 6th gen. This is the 6th console generation that this came out on. And so we were talking about something else funny. You were talking about Sony. Sony had come out before, right? And then this console was launched a few days before even the GameCube was launched. But here's a fun thing. Talking about hardware real quick, I want to touch on it. Who remembers this? The Duke controller, right? Mm-hmm. And you look at it and you go, oh, it's kind of jank. It's big in the hands, that's what she said. And but it is, some people don't like the way that it feels. I think it's okay. It's not my favorite though. But there's a reason why it's this big. Because when Microsoft approached the developer for the controller boards to get it down to this size of the PlayStation 2 controller, because the manufacturer of the boards for the PlayStation 2 controller said no. No, we're not going to make that for you. And for them to be able to get the same technology using another manufacturer, this is what we got. Of course, then after a while, after stuff's out and they, break things down and de-engineer it, you ended it with this, which is the new kind of modern, and this actually looks very similar to what the new Switch Pro controllers look like and stuff. As a matter of fact, another fun fact, see, this is the actual US release of this S-style controller. Check this out. Even before the S-style controllers were released in the States, they were released in Japan, because Japan was pissed, right? Because I don't know, maybe they just have small hands, but they really did not like the Duke controller. And so this one actually has a green Xbox icon on it, because this is a Japan import. So yeah. I had this before it was actually out, and but I love the console. I want to touch on Xbox Live just really quick, because it kind of goes into the hardware. I did beta test Xbox Live, and I freaking loved it. It was plug and play. Like when you got your original beta box, it came with a headset, it came with a boot or with some disc to download the stuff that you need onto the hard drive, and then you were able to play with friends. And I still have friends to this day that I met in beta for Xbox. And I do believe it is still the pinnacle when it comes to online multiplayer, as far as how smooth the transition is between interface, between getting into games, being able to communicate with people, and all the other ones have been catching up. Like Sony's been catching up, but they're still, I think they're still not there. And then PC, there's just so many different ways of doing that it makes it a little more difficult. But I love this piece of hardware. I love this Xbox, but it's just like a PC, like Horton said too. So, like any PC, stuff breaks down. It needs to be cleaned. Can't have it in dust, all that stuff like normal consoles. But this even more so, because there's a lot more moving components. But anyways, there you go. That's what I got. What you got, Eli?
I just got to say, man, when I'll never forget, it was the first time that my brother was the one that normally got all the expensive shit like this. Grandmother got him the Xbox. So the first time, you imagine, you get that big, clunky box, dude. There was one thing about the Xbox: heavy. You threw that shit at somebody, you in trouble. Mm-hmm. Well, it's cool at the time, because I've just felt like it just really changed the innovation, because as you said, PS2 came out ahead of time, you know what I'm saying? And that blew up like, oh shit, look, these graphics, this is insane. But then when the Xbox came out, you're seeing, yeah, it's a bigger package, but how much more it can actually do, in terms of graphically. Like, it really changed the game. And the particular games that came with it, the exclusives, which we're going to talk about today, it just really helped it stood out, man. Like, it was a great time. We just couldn't get our hands off it. That brought in all the homies to get together, link our things together to play with each other in a room and everything like that against each other. Fucking good time, man. So I just really think it was, to a point what Ryan was making was, I think it really helped innovate the other ideas for the PS4 to come to existence and then forth, because like we have to acknowledge Windows did it, Microsoft did it first, man. Like, I don't think anyone ever thought to be like, oh shit, let's put like a good processor, all these things to, be much more functional. Of course, it was too big, so I guess they got smart about, desizing it. Mm-hmm. But definitely changed the game at this time, man. And I love the intro boot up every time. I can't get enough of it.
My Xbox now still does the old retro. When they gave you the option to change the boot up, like the background, right? So it's basically your background on your landing page, or whatever. I still have it, the old green Xbox. But nice. Real quick anecdote also on the controller. I actually liked, because it was made for like an adult. It was. So, like, all the other ones were so small, like you could tell they were kind of built for kids. That first Xbox controller was like, oh, that's just great in my hand. So it's like. But then also, like, the whole thing with Microsoft and North America getting into this kind of console game beyond, like Atari and stuff. But, do you remember their big thing was like, it was like Scratchgate or whatever, right? So it was like the DVD player was scratching discs and everything else. And I remember seeing or read an article about like the engineers talking about how that is impossible. Like, that is not, and they basically I don't know if they ever proved it, but it was basically Eastern manufacturers sabotaging stuff to try to, you know, bring it down and everything. And so it was always interesting. There was always this kind of double standard. It's probably the reason Xbox has never taken off in Japan.
Well, yeah, they don't.
Right? Obviously.
They didn't like any new players in the game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, so Sega and Sega was on its way out, right? So we had Sony
Yep.
and we had Nintendo, who were the two big players at that time, and then the redheaded stepchild that was kind of on its way out console wise was Sega, and Sega's talking to Microsoft. Microsoft's coming on the scene. Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff. Like, that's a lot of shady stuff that happens in video game industry, and you start digging down and running down that rabbit hole. There's a lot of that. That doesn't mean that they don't make the consoles aren't great or whatever, but there was some Gestapo business that was happening for sure. So yeah, awesome. What's up, Wolf? I see something on your brain.
There was a lots of, like, Microsoft wanted to get into this game so heavily, right?
Mhm.
Like they went to some of the, like, they had a tight partnership with Sega coming into the actual manufacturing of the actual Xbox units and everything else. In fact, you know, Sega created quite a few of the games up front, early releases and other things. But there were points in time, you know, where Microsoft, like, in order to get a foothold, was talking about buying Sega. Right, it didn't go through, but then they also talked about buying Nintendo, and Nintendo just flat out said no. I guess it was considered, Bill actually considered about just trying to hostile takeover, you know, buy them out. They tried to buy Sony. Obviously, that didn't work. So, I mean, they were pretty passionate about getting into this space. So.
And they were actually so passionate that they sold these Xboxes for a loss. They knew that the console market dictated $300 is about the threshold that they were going to have to get it at, and that's what they launched it at, if I remember right. I think it was $299, and
it was $300.
Yeah, because the PlayStation 2 I would think was around that same price. So they needed to get it around there. But they overall, for the lifespan of the Xbox, they lost billions on manufacturing just to get into the gaming market, just to establish their online presence and their actual market presence. So they spent a lot on this. But yeah, good point, Hort.
But they were talking about that. That's why things like the 3DO and the Dreamcast kind of failed, right? They said the price points were just too high.
Yeah.
But
for the
I
technology.
think because they sold it at a loss, right? I think that's become the norm now. I think most hardware in the kind of gaming console space is sold at a loss because you actually make all your money off the software, right? The games. But yeah.
What's up? What you got, Wolf? You got anything?
All right. Yeah. I was being a sponge and I was soaking it all in.
Yep.
And now I'm going to get a chance to say a few things.
Please.
Retort. So, hearing you guys talk about this, it's, you know, and being, you know, that I'm in my late 40s now, I agree with what you're saying, right? So at the time, you're blinded by what you love, right? So I was in the PS2. I was playing games like God of War and Ratchet and Clank and Sly Cooper because those were the games that I gravitated towards. But if you know anything about the Xbox, then you know that, like, if you're playing Tony Hawk 3 on PS2, that was an inferior version of the game. That blew chunks. You know, play Tony Hawk 3 on the OG Xbox, right? You have improved frame rate. You had an extra level, the oil rig level. You had extra unlockables and all this stuff. So playing it now and looking back at some of the games, you know, that were ported to both systems, the Xbox had the better version on, if not all of them, most of those versions, and it was pretty good. And I will say that the online is second to none. I mean, you know, if you have a Nintendo product and you're still using the online friend codes, you know, like AOL dial-up, I mean, you can't even compare that to the Xbox Live. So, you know, and the whole system was built like a brick shithouse, like Eli said. I mean, it was big and thick, and you could drop it off your roof and it's still going to play. And to me, those are good testaments of consoles that'll, you know, really test time, you know, other than like some of the moving parts in the system, like the digital drives and stuff like that. But the way it was built and the features that it had were really amazing.
You know what, Wolf, this is what I love about you and I in law. So because we had what we were into, like you were heavy into PlayStation 2. That was one of your biggest main
Definitely.
consoles, PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3, whereas those were my lesser ones because I was on the other side of that coin,
Yeah.
like Xbox and Dreamcast. So this is what makes it fun, though, right?
Yeah.
I'm not knocking, like, PlayStation 2 has some great games. If I had to put them all together right at the time, PlayStation 2 I think had the better overall library of games. That just, I mean, like, because I want to say Xbox didn't get EA or something like that. There was a few developers that were just like, nope, we're not coming out for Xbox. The Xbox exclusives were great, and some of the ones that they did get that were great as well, but their install base was so small compared to PlayStation 2. So of course developers are going to throw money into developing more games for PlayStation 2. It's just the way that it is. And so but that's what's so fun about having these conversations with you, because I freaking love your opinion and your insights into seeing it from that other side and being able to kind of hear what you're saying. And
right, because you're blinded, right? You're
Yep.
blinded, and you know, when you get a chance to play it and go back and play a lot of those games, you're like, oh wow, you know, I really missed out, you know, on what would have been the better games at the time period, because that's just what I was into, like you said, and I was into the platformers, and I was into the JRPGs, which Sony PS2 had a ton, and like you said, you know, Xbox, I mean, you know, you had Fable, you know, like, you know, you had very few role-playing games. It was really heavy into the shooters, first-person stuff, and it did a great job with it. So,
do we want to start these games up then? Are we to that point? Have we beat the hardware up?
I think so.
All right. You know what? I'd love to hear from Eli. Eli, you want to start us out hot?
Yeah, so a game that when we got the Xbox at the time, this came with a combo. And I played this game originally on the Dreamcast, and this is Jet Set Radio Future, exclusive for Xbox. And damn, let me just tell you, dude, like for the longest time, so fun fact about that one, you know, I thought that was a sequel to Jet Set Radio. I thought. You know, you play it, it's like, oh shit, you know, it's updated graphics, just a better style, better music, you know what I'm saying? Like visibility, like it was just cool. Not knocking the Dreamcast version off in any way, but this one was just better. Like, you know, you had the turbo boost. You know, you could do like the boost into a combo in the air and everything. It just looks fancier, dude. And it was just a little more complex where you had more room. So I'm assuming because the hardware for the Xbox allowed that to happen. But fun fact about that game, it's not a sequel in any way. It's actually a reimagining of what they wanted the game to really be.
That's cool.
So I think that's fucking excellent. And I think that just made my passion for the game go even higher, because I thoroughly enjoy it, even playing it on my handheld, man. But fun. And I remember I played that game for hours because it has a very difficult part where you have to revisit every location you didn't spray paint when going against the Golden Rhinos in order to get to the final boss to do that, man. I spent hours completing that. When I finally finished the game, it was a good damn time. And then trying to do the challenges to become the bosses, to play as them, you know, like Poison Jam and just the Love Shockers. Like, dude, good time, man. You know, it just brought back so much nostalgia, just, you know, replaying it again, but it's just like, it was just better. And, you know, it was sad to see it never got ported anywhere else. That's why I just think that game is such a relic, because it's tied down to the Xbox.
Is it available? I think it's available to purchase now digitally. I think you can. Did they remaster it?
They remastered one.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
Not the Future, huh? Not the Jet Set Radio Future. Yeah. I'm gonna have to look into that, because I remember playing that one too. I never owned it, but I remember playing it, and I did like it a lot. The thing is I played a ton of the Dreamcast version, so that was the one that I gravitated more towards. But you're right, it did play really nice. It was really bright too, and it was fast. It was a really fast game. Good call, Eli. I like that game.
The cool thing about it too was like it was kind of the cell shading style of art and everything, which is super cool. Like you hadn't seen, I don't know if there were any other games before kind of Jet Set, or I can't think of any. I'm sure maybe there was, but it was kind of that first game that was just kind of a cool art style. It was kind of hip at the time. Going around graffitiing and everything else on rollerblades or whatever. So,
that cell shaded, like like 3-dimensional cell shaded, which is really cool. And Xbox actually excelled really like a lot at that. You play random games. Even right at the beginning, there was a couple of really cool ones. What was one that I liked? It was the control was a little wonky, but the game itself, what was it called? Mad Dash Racing or something like that. I really liked that game a lot too, and it was that cell shaded. But you're right, Jet Set Radio I think was one of the first like big mainstream cell shaded games that came out.
Yep, and then it was like Beautiful Joe, right? Like that was a big cell shaded game, but that was for
Mad
GameCube.
Racers or whatever.
Yeah,
Too.
yeah, that art style is
into
awesome.
like Borderlands and stuff later generations.
Sure.
They became a thing, but
Yep.
but
Yep, Zelda, Wind Waker. It's like you said, and then it's like a lot of games started copying that cell shaded thing because cell shaded's cool because you could really hide your graphics behind the cell shaded.
Yep.
So
Good.
if you have a good game, then it doesn't really matter.
Nice. Good choice, Eli. Anybody else got anything on that one? Nope. Horton, you're up.
Well, I'm gonna go with the one everyone thinks of when they think of the original Xbox is my number one. And it's probably one of my number one games of all time, and that is Halo Combat Evolved. Absolutely love that game. It was with one of the release games. It was one of those first games that me and my buddies, we played things like Mario Kart and stuff in college, and then coming out of college, and obviously I was out of college. I'm dating myself here, but I was out of college when the first Xbox came out. Not only did it have a campaign, but the network playing with your buddies, right? I didn't have to stare at the same screen as all my other buddies, or you could have 8 of us, right, on 2 TVs. So you could network your Xbox as long as you had 2 Xbox. We could network it. We could all play against each other. It was kind of like that concept, once again, of the merging of the PCs and the consoles. You could have like a LAN party with Xbox consoles and controllers. And so, like I said, my one buddy who got married in 2001 or whenever it was, I mean, we got a suite at the Bellagio in Las Vegas. We had 3 TVs. We literally all brought our Xboxes and networked those bitches together and played Xbox while in Vegas.
Nice.
Playing Halo the entire time, right?
That's awesome.
And so it was just crazy fun. The campaign was awesome. The story was great. But what I remember the most was like playing with all my buddies, networked together in the same house, across the entire house, right? You didn't have to be in the same room or anything else. Cool story about it though. I had read somewhere that Bungie had actually intended for Halo to be released on the Mac.
Yeah, on PC.
Yeah, on the Mac though, like Apple Macintosh. He was like, what? And then they actually switched over to Microsoft and had the idea and actually sold to them, right? But it was like because Microsoft was more serious about gaming, right? And not the PC world, but now going into consoles. So just a fun fact that it could have been a Macintosh game.
Right.
But
is it Bungie or Bungie?
I say Bungie.
It's
Did I say Bungie?
It's Bungie. It's Bungie.
Or is it Bunghole?
It's Bungie. Yeah.
Is it Bungie?
Could be any one of those.
That was when Bungie was. I really liked them.
Yeah,
they fell off for me once they started listening to the vocal minority and tweaking Destiny, the first Destiny, too much. I was like, I lost respect for them at that point. They're still a large developer and people love them, and they make good stuff. But I don't have the love that I had for them back when the Halo days were out.
Yeah.
What about you, Wolf?
Oh, my turn?
No, talking about Halo.
All right, here we go. So I was not interested in it at all because, and Dan knows my story. I mean, I just was not a first person like perspective type of player, nor did I have friends that I could go to the Bellagio and, set up, systems in 5 different rooms. I was more of a loner and a rebel, a lone wolf, and I played single player campaigns, and I was interested in 3rd-person perspective games and role-playing games and, gamed by myself. And I didn't really get into first-person shooters and stuff like that until later. And then even when I did play it later, I hated it. So for whatever reason, I didn't like the story. I didn't get it. it just wasn't for me. I'll just leave it at that. I'm not here to bust on it. I know it's a great game. It's sold. It's why people love the Xbox so much, but it just was not my cup of tea.
That was the game that forced me to learn how to use dual control sticks. That was the first Halo, and I was freaking terrible at it at first, but I was like, I love this game so much that I'm gonna learn how to do it, and that specifically is the game that I learned how to use dual analogs, and it was hard. I know the feeling. I was there with you, Wolf. I was like, do I really want to work at getting used to this? I don't like feeling awkward. And then my friends were a little better than me, and I was like, nope. And so just like anything else for me, I just practiced and then ended up getting better. And I was like, oh, okay, so this is how that works.
Get good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Get good.
Get good.
Yeah.
When did the DualShock first come out? Was that for the PS2 but later?
I want to
Like,
say
when did the PlayStation get its first dual analog controller?
that was PlayStation 2, and then they lost it because they kind of stole the information or the copyright or whatever
I don't think
for
the
it.
PlayStation 2 released with dual analog.
Which
I
one?
think it must have come out
I
later.
think it did.
Yeah, I think it released
Did
with
it?
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I think they lost the rights for it for a while, so there was like they couldn't use that for a bit. So like some of the older or the newer versions of PlayStation 2s didn't have Rumble feature. It was weird.
Right. That's what it was. It had the two things, but it was the Rumble feature.
Yeah, it was just a Rumble. So I want to Eli, you got anything on Halo?
Oh, great game, dude. All around, good times. Fun fact too. Every time when we used to go to youth group, we would always have a Halo session. We had like 4 Xboxes, dude. And everyone's in the rooms, just like all in the battling each other, dude. That game brought like online gameplay to like the max, dude. Hard. So great game, dude, for sure.
Well, and then it's like Horton said too for LAN. Like before, if you're LANing PCs, right? You're carrying your PC, you're carrying your keyboard, your mouse, your monitors, all that stuff. Most people had a couple of TVs in their house, so that's something that they didn't have to lug over. They just had to get the console now and a cord. But since we're talking about Halo, I want to touch on this too. This is the one though that set it apart.
Halo 2.
Yeah, Halo 2 was the one with its online capabilities with the Xbox Live service. That's what put Halo on the map for online first-person shooters. It did everything that Halo 1 did, but only better. Everything. Like I like the story better. The story was good in the first one, but I like the story better. I like the online components, and that's when I started getting lost in the online multiplayer aspect because I was meeting so many nice new friends and stuff. I was like, dude, this is awesome. You know, I'm in between classes. I stop, in college. I stop home for an hour or two, and my buddy in Great Britain's playing because he's 8 hours ahead. So just being able, it was just awesome. It was such a good time to be a gamer back then, and especially somebody that was getting into the online components. But Halo for sure was a big part of that.
And that's a good call out. Like it was nice because when the Xbox first released, it didn't have Xbox Live, right? So that didn't come until I think Dan, you said a year later, so I can't even remember when it came out. I wasn't big into online gaming at all, right? Like, so that wasn't a thing for me. Like that whole online community thing and everything else, that was a foreign concept because I didn't do a ton of PC gaming back then. And so I wasn't online talking to people and playing online and everything else. So that was the first introduction of like actually being able to play with people online. And they did it so well, even just out of the box. It was just spot on. It was easy to connect, easy to talk, like having voice and gameplay together. That was a game changer.
Agreed. And I liked it way back in the day. This is something that they had that they took away was being able to sound mask your voice. So you can make yourself sound like somebody with like a huge deep voice, or you can make yourself like Alvin and the Chipmunks high pitch, dude, or a robot. It was so cool, dude. And then being able to change your name, like your actual gamer tag name in game. This was before, people started abusing it, right? I mean, but me rolling into a match and being Juicy Cow Eyeball, you were killed by Juicy Cow Eyeball was awesome. Or you were killed by Placenta Jerky. Yeah.
I still have my original gamer tag from Xbox Live. It's Horton. And this is where I was going with this. Is like in the original Xbox Live days when it first released, it wasn't toxic. Like it was like I literally as we got into the Xbox 360, that's where I started blocking people unless you're my friend.
Yeah.
Because it got so toxic. I started getting death threats. You're like, you're not the real Hort, blah, 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 blah. Before that kind of whole side of things got a little, and I kind of, like, it got me into online gaming and playing with other people because it was like a cool community. You get guys like mad and stuff, but it wasn't like this hateful thing. And then in later years, it started getting pretty, and then it pulled me back out of it. Like, I still, to this day, my privacy settings, I can't hear other people unless you're a friend. Because I just got sick of it.
You know what it was?
Like,
I could tell you what games specifically did that.
What?
Call of Duties.
Call of Duty. That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was.
Sorry.
I love playing Call of Duty online with my buddies, with everything else, and then it just got toxic. And I was just like, oh, I'm done with this.
I know. I hear you. Cool. All right. Hey, by the way, I got to do the shout out. I couldn't talk about Halo 2 without talking about rockets and swords, or shotguns and swords. You guys, you remember that? As soon as somebody got the sword, it was over. Oh,
we lost Wolf.
Lost Wolfman. Well, hopefully he'll join back in. I mean, he was probably like, I'm done with this anyway. Stupid Xbox.
Yeah, stupid Xbox.
Yeah. So, excuse me. All right. Well, I guess you guys got your games. I'll talk about my first game then till Wolfman gets back in here. And I'm going to say it is Return to Castle Wolfenstein. Those of you that don't know, the uninitiated when it comes to online multiplayer gaming, this game is the king. The king, in my opinion, on original Xbox. There's a lot of good games, don't get me wrong, but I put so many freaking hours into this, dude. And there's the times of me being the suicidal medic where there's a grenade down on my buddies and I would run in there and then stick them and die, but they would be invulnerable and they get launched up. Dude, it was so good. This game, Return to Castle Wolfenstein, I remember, I still have friends to this day that I met playing this game, and this was out probably in the first, this came out for Xbox Live. I want to say this was like a launch game for Xbox Live, or really close to a launch game for Xbox Live. So about a year into the lifespan of the Xbox, and it is a masterpiece. It is a work of art, especially for the older Xbox itself, just with what it would do. Being able to play with your friends, talk to them online. Again, killing people as placenta jerky was great. You know, and they would, because it would show up on their screen like you were killed by anal leakage, you know? And so it was so much fun, and the game was great. You learned the maps. The maps were fantastic, being able to run around. You knew where the choke points were. It was like, you know, people got really amped up and fired up for GoldenEye. This was a way better version of GoldenEye with actual good controls. If I had to, put, if somebody hasn't played this before. So Return to Castle Wolfenstein, Tides of War. They weren't lying. Editor's choice for Xbox for sure. This is a, this was a great game. And you guys played this one?
Oh yeah. I actually played it in VR. They made it available in VR. So I got into VR gaming and everything else, and it was awesome. Someone did a mod so you could actually play in VR. It was awesome to go back and revisit it. Like, it was so cool to be able to play it.
Super cool.
Even be able to interact and everything else. But I'm trying to remember, could you play the campaign online with Castle Wolfenstein?
I don't think so.
Not a release, obviously.
I don't think so.
I'm trying to remember. I couldn't remember what the first game was. You could do co-op campaign together. I thought it was, but maybe not, because it wasn't one of the initial release games, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. You could do co-op campaign 1 to 2 players on the same Xbox. I don't think you could do the online. I don't think the online components worked for that. It was like a separate multiplayer experience, and yeah, it was great. It was when you start seeing lag though. That was one of the ones that where you would notice lag for some of my friends that were over in UK. There were certain games that we would play. That one every once in a while they would lag out, but it was still a lot of fun. I love that game.
Yeah, remember, this is before broadband, so
yeah. Well, I mean, it was kind of broadband, sort of. I mean,
you could get Ethernet, but it wasn't like
the
speed where, I mean, the best speed you get was like 6, right? So it was like
yeah, kilobits. But yeah, that was definitely a fun game. Yeah, and so Eli, you didn't play that because you're still a youngin', so you really didn't get to play a whole lot. You had to experience it through your other family members, right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. And you never played Wolfenstein at all, like chunking people, like because you down somebody and they would be downed, and you could, if you're on the team, you could get in there and use a syringe and revive them. Excuse me, and revive them, and then they could keep playing. So what you would do is you would kill somebody, and then you would do what's called chunking them, where you would throw the grenade down on their body and run off, and then it would chunk their body, and they couldn't be brought back. So, but you never got to experience that, huh?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
And that
dude.
sounds
The joys.
When did the first it was kind of Call of Duty before Call of Duty, like when was the first Call of Duty game? Like I'm trying to remember.
it was the
Call of
Xbox.
Duty.
Well, there was some on PlayStation, but the first one that had online capability was probably, I want to say it was PlayStation 2 with their network adapter. I think that was the first, if I had to.
Was it?
Yeah. Yeah,
I
but
remember because I definitely remember playing Wolfenstein before Call of Duty, and always like thinking it was kind of the precursor, kind of the world, because the first Call of Duties were like World War One, right?
Mhm.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was like that kind of World War One.
Yep,
or
World
two.
War II. Yep.
World War Two. Sorry.
But they were
Yeah. So it was like.
But they were EA, right? EA was like no to Xbox until
Yeah.
360. Then EA would start bringing out some stuff for Xbox 360. But original Xbox, they were like, nope, don't want nothing to do with you. We got a good way with we're in a good way with with Sony, so we'll just go with them. So yeah. Anyways, all right, Eli.
How the tides they turn.
Yeah,
over
exactly.
the years, right?
How the turntables. What you got next, Eli?
Lost power in the storm, so that's why he's gone.
Oh, is that what happened? Yeah.
Yeah.
No problem.
He's trying to get the computer back up.
That's all
Okay,
good.
so this is a personal favorite of mine. I think you're gonna agree with this one, Larson. And what makes it so unique is that this one, unfortunately, is exclusively tied down to the Xbox also, and is one of my personal favorites of the series, and that's Dead or Alive Ultimate 3. There it is right there. That game is so freaking good. And it has one of the craziest final boss fights, hard as nails. And it's just different. But the game overall, man, it just looks so good on the Xbox. It looks so good, and you could not play that particular version unless you had a damn Xbox, dude.
Mm-hmm. And then they came out with this, which is the Dead or Alive Ultimate 1 and 2, right?
Yes.
So it had the first Dead or Alive and Dead or Alive 2 in a pack that with the upgraded graphics that actually looked better than the original, than even Dead or Alive 3. So, yeah, the great choices, Eli. I remember spending so many hours on there. Keep talking, dude. I'm listening. I want to absorb it.
No, man, it is just excellent, dude. And it's just has a very memorable final fight, man. It's just that final fight was very different. Tough.
I'm trying to remember, was it the one that's the like the ghost version of you? Is that right?
No, it's the one with the guy in the red armor that he has a lightsaber sword, and you're far away, you have to get close.
Yep.
He's constantly swinging.
Oh yeah.
And you're all on fire.
Exactly. Yeah,
oh,
and
my God.
The intro of this game too, you guys. If you ever get a chance, just YouTube it. Look at the intro, the actual intro of this with the Aerosmith song that goes on, dude. So good, Aerosmith, man.
Played that game for hours, man.
Yep.
Hours. Just fun, just great, and it just looks fantastic.
Yep, and something to talk about with these ones too is, so that one did not have online capability. That one was actually a launch title, but these ones, Dead or Alive 1 and Dead or Alive 2, these ones were online enabled, so you could actually fight against your friends on this one in swimsuits with jiggle physics, and Dantron approved. Oh, there he is, and he's back in the heezy. What's up, buddy? Welcome back, my friend.
My God, the weirdest thing. Bill Gates' head appeared on my screen. He was wearing a Jeffrey Epstein shirt, and he went, "Xbox hater, sadist," and he burned out my computer screen.
Yeah, exactly. He was like,
Rightfully
Yeah, didn't say the magic word. So what you missed is I went and talked about Return to Castle Wolfenstein.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I talked about its online capability. You probably played it a little bit, but not much because it was, first person.
Right.
But lots of fun, right?
Definitely.
And then Eli just touched on this one.
Ooh, Dead or Alive 3. Nice.
Yeah. Do you remember playing any of those ones, Wolfman?
Not really. A little bit. I had a friend that was into Dead or Alive 3. I think at that time I was more into like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. I even played a little bit of Tekken, but I don't know if I ever really got into Dead or Alive a lot.
Dead or Alive Hardcore, Dead or Alive 2 Hardcore on PlayStation 2 was awesome. That's the one I was
think
hoping.
I did play that.
That's the one I was hoping that you'd play. That was the one that you could play 4-player too if you had the multi-tap. It's so good.
I think we talked about that when we did the PS2 episode.
It's a great game. Great game. Cool. All right. Well, you're up then, man. We don't want to skip your turn. That's you.
All right. Okay. So the game I'm picking is an Xbox exclusive, and it's one of the things that I wanted to do is try to get the Xbox exclusive games that I couldn't play because I was knee deep in the PlayStation 2. So this one's called Crimson Skies, High Road to Revenge. I believe Crimson Skies came out for the PC, and this was like I don't know, an updated, like they did some different things for it for Xbox. Came out in 2002, and I love these. There it is. I love these type of games because I was really fell in love with these type of games like 1942, like in the arcades, Time Pilot, even Horton and I, sometimes we would get on, MetaQuest, and we play this World War II fighter game, like where I threw up, and it was really, really cool.
World of Warplanes, is that what it is?
Yeah, it's a little much for me, but this was more like an action arcade fighter. You got 13 different planes. You could like build up your statistics. You could change out your weapons. It had open-ended missions. It had really cool graphics. I think what I liked about it is they really tried to simplify it for us idiots like me, so you didn't have to deal with like landing and like takeoffs and stuff. Like you were in the air, you were controlling this plane. It had like awesome plane physics, and the graphics, like I said, were great, and really cool sound effects and tight controls. And to me, it's just a fun game. It's a great pick up and play type of game. I think anybody would like it. Doesn't matter. I think it crosses all genres. And here's where I missed out once again. There was a big multiplayer component of this that I never touched, that you could have played for Xbox Live, and I just played like the single player mission. So I'd like to, I don't know, can you still go back and play multiplayer on this, or did they shut down the
Xbox servers? I want to say it's like 2010 and so, or Xbox Live on original OG, like 2010.
Okay.
But there is another thing that you can play them on. I don't know if I have that data right now, but there is something out there that that you can play these games through. And I'll look into that. I'll talk to you about it. But there is something out there that you can play those ones. And you did miss out on a part on those ones. This game, I agree with you. The interface was so easy to understand, like where the other planes were, which was one of the greatest parts of this. The control on the plane was good. The maps were open enough that it'll give you time to, if you want to stay in the wide open areas, you could. But if you wanted to start getting between buildings and stuff, you could there too. Online components was great. The game, again, graphics-wise, were fantastic, and I agree with you. I love that game. It is still one of my favorite OG Xbox games. Good call.
And a cool story too, right? Like it's like the 1930s. Like you're like it's like an alternate version of the 1930s, and it has to do with like pirates in the air and stuff. I thought the story was really cool too. I like it for the action and just like the plane physics and stuff, but I also dug the story too for the single player campaign.
Wasn't there a movie out there? What was it called? Like it was
with James Franco and stuff. It was kind of along those
Jude Law, I think, was in it too.
Jude Law. Sorry, you're right. Yeah.
Sky Captain, is that right?
Yeah, Sky Captain. Yeah.
Sky
Yeah,
Captain.
Nerd. But yeah, yeah, I got big Sky Captain vibes from this game.
Yeah.
Very, very cool game. How about you, Eli? You play this one?
No, I actually haven't. I'm not definitely curious to know how it plays.
Yeah, you'd like it.
It was like an adult Star Fox. Like
Yeah.
it was. I mean, it was fun. Like, and the graphics were so good, but the gameplay felt kind of the same, right? Like, it was just fun to fly and shoot, and like it was kind of cool because sometimes you would get out and be the gunner in a ship or something, so you got a different perspective. You weren't flying; you were actually just a gunner. It was such a cool game. I love that game.
I gotta check it out now, dude. If it
Yeah,
works,
Xbox exclusive too.
Yeah.
for sure.
But
Crimson
just the
Skies.
stylings of the ships and stuff, like
Yeah.
they
Oh,
were,
super
like,
cool.
kind of quad wings and stuff. It's crazy.
Graphics were awesome. No frame rate drops. Like it was smooth as butter. I don't know. The game really, I think it holds up today. Even like it's
I
a
agree.
great game.
I agree. It does hold up for sure. All right, Horton, you're up, bud.
Oh, it's me?
Yeah.
So my second pick was Amped Freestyle Snowboarding.
Nice.
I don't think I was able to get it the day I got on release day of the Xbox. I think it literally came out like a week later or something. But I loved it. It was that combination of, it wasn't like the stereotypical SSX tricky or something where you could do a lot of the same kind of stuff, but those were all race based. Like this was more kind of that Tony Hawk open kind of world, but you didn't have to hold down the A button to keep pushing off like you're going downhill, and just like the gameplay was so smooth. Like it was just fun to be able to do your tricks and everything. It was, for me, it was the game that I just picked up when I had a little bit of time just to fuck around, right? I mean, it was just, it was fun. It was just like pulling off some cool tricks. You picked your run, and it was almost like self-generated. Like, and this is where I think the hard drive I was talking about, I think the developer said they were able to do, like, they could render the mountains super far out, and they could do a lot of different stuff because the actual Xbox had a hard drive. So there was scandal around it. I think there was something around, like, they showed images of it. You know how the Xbox, even the Xbox, like, faces were kind of, they had angles, like squares and stuff. And they released pictures before the game released, and it was like total smooth round and everything else. And it was like, I think they had to admit they had rendered them or something. But the game was amazing still. Like I don't think it impacted the game at all in the play and everything else. So that was my second pick.
Did anybody
play that one?
No, nobody played that. I played that one, and it reminds me of 1080 snowboarding on N64.
Oh,
another game that system that you hate, Wolfman. But yeah, it's arcadey, right? Snowboard Kids, 1080 snowboarding, and Amped. Yeah, they're all they're just fun. They feel more like a racing game than anything. I mean, not racing, but like Tony Hawk, but with racing. So more arcadey. So. Like even like the arcade style snowboarding games, you know, like you get in the arcade and you gotta, you know, I
like SSX3 for GameCube. That game was snowboarding and
it was more about like freestyle. Like you got points and stuff from the trade. It wasn't so much
Tony
about
Hawk
races than like just going out and shredding on. It was like Tony Hawk, right?
Yeah.
It was like, to me it was Tony Hawk because, you know, in college when Tony Hawk 1 came out, we played the crap out of that. It was just like, this was like the snowboarding version of that for me. But
yeah, very cool. All right, let's see who's next. Wolfman, you just went though. Eli went. I guess it's my turn. All right, so I will flip this one around. Let's see, which one do I want to talk about? Ooh, I know what I want. All right, so I'm gonna start this off with. All right, anybody that's played original Xbox and played Xbox Live, again, I was deep into Xbox Live. I'm going to throw a game out here that has not been brought out on any other system. It keeps being brought up as something that needs to be re-released, and I agree with them because this game was freaking amazing. And all I'm gonna say is Prometheus and the Elemental all day. No, the Elemental is hilarious, but Prometheus, that was the tank when it comes to mechs in this game, with the flaming balls of death, the most powerful weapon. But anyway, they had like, what was it? The Mad Cat, I think, was one, and there's some other ones, but it's Mech Assault. The original Mech Assault. This game, boy, I'll tell you, me and robots. Oh, dude, it's so good. Did you ever?
Good.
Dude,
Looks great.
It's such a great game. Anybody that has played this one in the past, they'll tell you the same thing. Like everybody liked this. It was only on Xbox exclusive. It keeps getting brought up again that it needs to be brought out, and I agree because this was the best Mech Assault version, and I'll touch on and talk about this one too, Mech Assault 2 Lone Wolf. And this one tried to do more, but it almost did too much. You lost some of the attitude and feel of the original one when they did this. But the cool story about this one is I actually got to play this game at the first Penny Arcade Expo ever in Bellevue, Washington. They had it set up for everybody to play while we were there, and it hadn't been played or shown anywhere else really where people could actually play it at that point. And I did like it, but again, it did a lot of things. You know how I mentioned before that Halo and Halo 2, it did everything that Halo did but better. This one, it almost, they went too far. It went too far. It made it feel a little too different from the fun arcadiness of this game. So
it's more simmy. You're absolutely right. The first one was so arcadey, like in terms of like just being able to play online.
Yep.
You could like run around, stomp on guys walking outside the mech and everything else. Like it was just a fun, fast game too, right? It was like your mechs, which mech you chose and everything. But you're spot on, Dan. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No. I want you to speak on that. I'm done talking about it. But yeah, so keep talking.
No, it was a fun game that you could play online. Once again, there was a storyline which was pretty good, like for the campaign. But the online was where it's at. You're stomping around cities and everything else and fighting, and it was just like, I don't know. It was one of the first games I felt like, because I've been trying to find a great mech game forever, and I'm sure one of your games is coming up with controllers and everything else. But like this was like the first like game that I played beyond PC and everything else that actually felt like a good, great mech game. Like, you're stomping around, you had like powers, you could jump, like your weapon systems, like all that stuff was just spot on. So.
It was very simple, very similar setup and layout like Twisted Metal, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Where there's power-ups around the levels, and you had you had teammates, though it wasn't one-on-one, so you had a group of, usually it was 4-on-4 if I remember right. And but it was cool because you could bring in your team. You'd kind of go in and you'd kind of complement each other by choices. Like you'd be like, I'm going to bring, somebody on the team's going to bring this one mech because it has this one weapon that is an energy weapon and will drop shields faster and stuff like that. So you would work with your buddies, and then, you have somebody who would come and do the cleanup. And it was one of those really easy to get in, fun mech games that I think still holds up today. Like I put it in and play it every once in a while, and it's just as good, just as much fun. The graphics were great. Online, there was no lag. It was still a fun game. Many hours put into this game, but it had blood and violence in it, is what they say.
Yeah.
And your big robots. But yeah, anyway, yeah. How about
I'd
you,
like to
Eli?
try that.
Yeah,
you could bring
definitely.
down buildings and stuff. Like it was cool. Like it was like the environment you could wreck, and like when a mech would blow up, like if it was next to a building, the building would collapse, and like
That's
it was
cool.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, this is another one I never played before.
Man. Well, you're welcome, you guys, because you need to check these ones out. They
Yeah,
are
thank
hot.
you. It's on my list.
They are
Hey,
hot.
give me ideas. Honestly, I'm actually looking at the compatibility for each of these.
Yeah, the cool part about Mech Assault, that's actually where I started my love of going into battles underpowered against overpowered opponents. I'm that weird guy that likes to go into a fight with hamstrung. I like to go into a fight with the lesser powered stuff just because it's more of a challenge for me. And so there are times you'd never kill anybody in the Elemental. The Elemental is just like a little human in a spacesuit with one little laser that does no damage hardly at all. I would go into matches with that just to see how long I could survive and how annoying I could be. It was so much fun. Oh man, that game's just making me smile.
Super fast though.
Oh yeah, it was fast. But it was really cool. But you'd get stepped on and you're dead, and yeah, it was a cool game. I mean, Mech Assault 2, they tried to, like, you could get out of your mech and you could get in and do other stuff outside of your mech. It was just too much for me. It's still a really good game though, but this one is by far out of the two.
I still think it's probably a lot of inspiration behind like Titanfall and stuff. Like pieces
are taken.
A lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yep. All right, trying to go around the. It's going to be. Well, we had Eli now. Eli, you're up, buddy.
All right, so this was actually pretty dope. I'm just gonna take it back to a classic. So even though this game has been emulated, but it was just really nice to see that they made a specific port for it exclusively for the Xbox. To me, is one of the better ones in the franchise in this series. It's still one of my favorites that I go to repeatedly to play over again, and that was Metal Slug 3 for the Xbox. Reason this one was so particularly cool also was not only did you have that version in your Xbox and in your home, you also had the ability to go online and pair up with friends. So imagine you have like Two in the Pink and Placenta Jerky teaming up together to take
So good, man. Yeah. This was before toxicity, but just hilarity ensued. And they said, "Hey, warning! This is not for kids." Well, yeah, it's true. It's not for kids. Some of this stuff, but yeah.
You know, just imagine, dude, like you're online with your friends and being able to experience that together online with your homies, dude. Like imagine you're not spending quarters, dude. You're at home at different spots and online playing this together.
Yep.
And Metal Slug 3 to me is damn hard.
Mm-hmm.
And try to even spare your continues for that, good luck. Because man, you gotta just strategize that one because that game is tough and it's long.
That's what she said.
So to me, that was just a beautiful thing to just to have it on the port, dude. Because I am a big Neo Geo fan, dude. So, and I am in love with the Metal Slug series, dude. Like you know, I even had a whole port for the PSP, but that's another conversation for another time. But just to have that arcade port into the Xbox, man, in my own house, that was just like, oh, this is it for me. I love this game. You know, I've always admired this game, and now I have this game in my house, and I could go online with my buddies. Dude, excellent. Excellent.
I literally did not know it was even a thing. I'm like watching video of it now.
Yeah, I didn't know it was
idea.
out for Xbox.
Yeah.
Neither did I. And I'm a Neo Geo guy. I didn't even know.
That's crazy.
I mean, I've obviously played Metal Slug 3. I just had no idea it was even available on the Xbox. Like, that's nuts.
Dude, it looked even cleaner, crispier.
Yeah. Looks amazing.
I'm looking it up right now, too.
You know, that game is kind of known to have dips in its frame.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a Neo Geo thing, unfortunately. It didn't happen on the Xbox. It was able to run it full speed.
Wow.
Yeah, I wonder if it's. Yeah, I don't know why that would be. Wonder if it has something to do with like how it rendered graphics in general. I don't know.
Because one is notorious for that problem. I think it's 1 or 2.
Yeah.
You always
The
get the
sprites.
slow down. I always remember with a lot of the Metal Slugs, you start getting the slow down
Yes, you
stuff.
did. Absolutely.
Super cool.
This
Yeah.
looks
Good call.
awesome.
Yeah. I know. We're all like talking about these games, and we keep bringing up
Bro.
these games like, oh man, this looks sweet. Yeah. Everybody,
literally
check them out.
stayed
Get
up
your notes
all
out.
night trying to beat the final boss, dude. Like I'm in the night, almost 2 a.m. as a kid. I'm on the last final boss, and that boss is tough as nails, dude. Because there's like 3 sequences. It's a hard game, man. It's just like, yo, I got this in my house. Like and you gotta understand, I am a giant Metal Slug guy, dude. That was my like holy grail. I was like, yes, I can't believe they did this.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then playing with your friends online again, because that's if one thing that the Xbox was known for, it's the first person shooters. Like the graphics were great. Don't get me wrong; it was great graphics, but it was first person shooters that it really brought to the forefront, and the broadband online capability. Those were the 2 things that it was known for, and I used those to their fullest, and that's why I think I have such love for this console. Again, it's not my favorite console. It's probably, I'll say though, it's probably top. Well, I know it's top 10 for sure. Just outside of top 5 consoles for me, maybe 7. But but there's only because of how many hours I sunk into it. It was the first foray into online multiplayer, and I have so many fond memories of just hanging out with the boys. And funny story, my wife, you guys know, at one point we were kind of dating when this was out, and we had to have a conversation. She was like, "This ain't gonna happen. Like you can't be playing this all the time. Like if I want to see you, I want to be able to see it. I want to hear you saying, 'Oh, I'm hanging out with the boys all the time.'" And I was like, "Fair enough." So this I had that come to Jesus moment at that point. But yeah, because the online was so much fun. There was always friends online to play with. Always. It didn't matter what time of day. I had friends everywhere. Your friends list was limited to 100 friends at first. So that was a little bit harder because I was having to cycle people on and off. But once you got your solid 100 friends on there, dude, I mean, nothing cooler than getting an invite from your buddy Pig Venus. I was like, oh man, this is so good. I remember that dude's still on my friends list. Love that guy. Anyways,
I'm just fine, but because back in the day, and you're making me feel old, Eli. He's like back when I was a kid, and like the Xbox came out when I was working.
I was working too, right?
Dude,
But
I mean, I have the
it was
youngest
like-
guy here, dude. I don't mean to make you feel that way. Yeah,
No,
I was a
I'm
kid.
kidding. I don't
You
care.
were, dude, I think you
I'm
were
just
finishing
through
college
retirement.
when I was just born.
Oh, dang.
Ryan, you could be Eli's father for Pete's
Yeah,
sake.
easily.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe I.
Ah!
But I thought the funny thing is like this is before emulation was even a thing. So the thought of even being able to play like an arcade game at home, like we had Xboxes and everything else, but it was different. Like being able to play those old school arcades, like the stuff I grew up playing and everything, like Metal Slug and all that, like that is such a foreign concept. So like when they started bringing some of these, arcade type games to the home consoles, it was awesome. Being able to play something like Metal Slug, like I didn't even know you could do that. So,
With friends.
yeah,
Oh,
friends. Yeah, that was
exclusive to the Xbox. Another one tied to the Xbox, brother. Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Weird. All right, Wolfman. I think you're up. Or is it you,
Dang.
Horton? Is it the
No,
Horton?
I think it's me.
Yeah, I think it's you.
Yep. So, this game to me was like a nerdgasm of epic proportions. It was like Old Faithful in my underwear. It was it's just everything I love about games tied into one. I was a big Star Wars fan, and they added a D&D rule set to it. It's called Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. And good God, did this game have me hooked. This is for you, Endgame Arcade. I know he loves BioWare and the Mass Effect series. So BioWare obviously, helped to make this game, and their influence is very heavy in this game. And you could see that with the Mass Effect games. You have the speech, and you could talk to people, and you have the alignment system. You could be light side of the Force, you could be dark side of the Force. You had tons of customization. The customization you could do with the lightsabers was amazing. The lore was really cool because I think this one was about like the Sith, like the Sith Lord. They introduced a new guy. What was his name? Like Darth Malak, I think. So it had a really cool story. Graphics were great. Combat was amazing. It just, to me, it's everything that I love in games rolled into one, and then you had the whole Star Wars theme on top of it. And I love role-playing games, so I kind of gravitated towards this, obviously. And it was just so neat. To me, it just enhanced and added to the Star Wars universe. I believe they came out with Knights of the Old Republic 2, and I think they had an Old Republic 3 that they were working on, but I think it got canceled. And fans were pretty pissed about that because they loved this series. Series was great. So I don't know. What do you guys think? LucasArts, I mean, can't go wrong with this game if you like Star Wars, as far as I'm concerned.
Funny enough, I love Star Wars and I never played it for whatever. And I wasn't a big RPG person, so I think that's why.
Okay, that could be it.
But yeah, for whatever reason, I don't think I ever played it. But I'm actually looking on Steam right now. I'm going to add it to my cart.
Nice.
My daughter.
Yeah, you would love it. You would love it.
Yeah. Well, my daughter. So she absolutely, I mean, she's 14 now, but she literally played through all the Mass Effects in under a month. Like all of them. Like you just loved it. Still one of her favorite games. Said the graphics not that great, right?
Yeah.
But the story, and like she loved that kind of interaction and RPG aspect of it. So I might have to get this just to get her playing.
Yeah. Oh, she'll love it. It's the combat is neat. It's like round based, and combatants could they could fight like simultaneously, and like I said, it's got that D&D rule set built in. So it's really cool, like for us old heads who play Dungeons and Dragons and played a lot like it. The characters are very familiar from the Star Wars universe, and it really gave you a lot on the Sith end of things. But I think the thing that I love the most, and that your daughter will like, is that you have choices to make. You know, this whole alignment system. Are you gonna, you're gonna be a Jedi? You're gonna be in the light side? You're gonna, work for the Sith and be in the dark side of the Force. So, and then you got the choices that BioWare is so great at as far as narrating and storytelling. So it's like the best of both worlds, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I'm adding it.
I need to check it out because
it's cool.
I've never played it. I need to, but again, where was I at, right? Like Wolf, you and I, yin and yang, baby.
Yep.
I was, so that was a single player game, and it was, I mean, I spent my time playing multiplayer stuff at that time. So
look at the graphics. I mean, the graphics even still hold.
And it's good. I know it's a good game. I know it's a good game, and I've been told I need to play it, and I haven't, and I will definitely check it out now for sure. And whenever I get a Wolf endorsement, it's time to put it in.
Well, thanks. Yeah. I do the same with all you guys. If you guys recommend a game, you're my friends. I put it on a list. I will play it. I will at the very least try it. I might not like it, and I'll tell you if I don't like it, but I will try it.
I am not a turn-based game player, so like I don't know if I will like it, but it sounds.
Your daughter will. Your daughter will love it. Yep.
Cool. How about you, Eli? You ever play that one?
No, I haven't, dude. That's another one I need to check out. You guys are dropping some bombs. I need to check, man. That is like one thing I think about when it comes to the Xbox, even to this day, when I'm like messing around with the emulation for it. I often think to myself, man, what games could I check out? And I always get stumped.
So I'm going to throw one that just popped into my brain that you need to look at, because Xbox, it was only around for, 5 years or so. I mean, and it was first launched, like, what was it?
2000.
Yeah, 2001. So it launched like 2 months after.
I'm sorry.
It launched 2 months after like 9/11. So like they had problems with like their final dev kits because they couldn't fly to Mexico to try them. They had to ship them and all kinds of stuff. It was wild. But Eli, this is not one of the games I want to talk about, but I just wanted you to put it on your list. Phantom Dust.
Phantom Dust. Okay.
Phantom Dust. Put that one on there. Just look at it. It's very unique. You will like that one. Anyways, all right. So who's next? Is it Horton? I think. Is it Horton, Nick? Horton. Yep.
So I am pulling one out so I was a big sci-fi nerd. Imagine that. So one of the movies I loved that came out, I think when I was in college, was Pitch Black.
Oh yeah.
And it was kind of this low budget. And if you don't know what Pitch Black is, I highly recommend it. Low budget kind of sci-fi film starring one of his first big roles, Mr. Family himself.
Family.
Can you guess? Come on. Huge big star now.
Vincent Diesel.
There you go.
Yeah. Your family.
That's right.
Yep. All about family. It was like one of his first kind of breakout roles. He'd had a couple other ones, and Pitch Black was one of them. And I love that movie, but then they came out with the sequel called Chronicles of Riddick.
Ooh.
And that was a huge blockbuster. I loved the movie. Like it got more in depth, open world. Like it was like this cool whole thing. And then right around the same time, and I think it came out in 2004, and I actually really loved the movie. And then right around the same time, they released the game for Xbox. It was Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay. And so it is a great stealth game. Escaping, you play as Vin Diesel. He does amazing voiceover in the entire thing. In fact, one of the funniest things I remember is at the time there's a show called Pimp My Ride, if you haven't heard of it.
Yeah.
Starring Exhibit.
Yeah,
and he was one of the guards in the opening scene. It was just like hilarious. Yeah, Vin Diesel playing Riddick, and then you had Exhibit as this guard. It was just a cool game, but they had like cutscenes from the movie, and it was really followed the plot line of the movie. And usually, like a licensed movie game usually sucked, but this was the first one where the gameplay was amazing. Like it was more of a stealth kind of a game, but you could I remember being in getting near the end. You're trying to escape from this super max lockdown prison, and the warden of the prison is like the main antagonist and everything else. But you crawl into like a mech type vehicle, and you're like fighting that way. But a lot of it was using his sight. People who've never seen the movie or whatever else, right? So you get the shine on your eyes. He's always said that he got surgery done in a Supermax, but he's a Furion. Blah 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 blah. So you would have the ability to be able to take off your goggles and be able to see in the dark. And so it was basically trying to navigate through and escape from Butcher Bay, which was a Supermax lockdown. Really fun game. It wasn't a super long playthrough or anything. I think it only took if you're good, it was probably under 10 hours or whatever. But it was just really well done. Great cutscenes. The graphics were amazing. It was one of the games that I thought the graphics were really good. Now it came out later, right? So if the Xbox came out in 2001, this came out in 2004. But it was a super cool game. So highly recommend it if you've never played it. One of the very first, great voiceover work by the actual actors, and followed the storyline of the movies. So if you're a fan of all the Riddick movies, check it out.
The graphics on that game are arguably some of the best graphics that ever came out of the original Xbox. It is freaking amazing. And it's dark as hell. That game is so freaking dark. At the beginning, before you get the shine on your eyes and stuff like that, it's so hard. You're trying to look in the light to be able to, see what's going on. That game is amazing. The graphics, the gameplay, the story, everything you talked about.
What's it called?
It's Chronicles of Riddick.
Escape.
The Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay.
Okay. I have one for PlayStation 3. I thought I had it, but it's called Assault on Dark Athena.
Yeah,
it's a different game.
It'll be a different one. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's crazy how good that game is.
Huh.
So you basically get captured by one of the. So if you know the movies at all, one of the bounty hunters, he gets delivered. You get paid. And actually, the bounty hunter becomes. I'm not going to give too much away from the game, but he becomes one of the main antagonists in the game also, and it's all about first. If I just remember playing the first time, is you break out, you steal a gun, you're making your way through, and you're like, oh great, and you just realize it's the training. You wake up, he was training on his way to Butcher. And you're like, oh god damn.
Wow.
You're starting over. So
it's reasonable too. It's like $10, $8 to buy.
Yeah.
Good game.
I'm sure there's a billion copies.
Yeah, they sold a lot. That game's. If you look it
Cool.
up, if you're looking it up, they probably had a lot of those ones sold because it was the people had already bought the system, but that would have been a system seller if it was at the beginning of its lifespan. It was that good.
Dang.
Yeah, you looking at that? You look at the graphics now; they almost hold up today.
Yeah, they
They're so
do.
freaking
the
good.
Cutscenes and everything.
It
There were
looks
actual
awesome.
scenes from the movie, and it was crazy.
Looks good.
Oh.
Nice.
Looks really cool.
All right,
Yep.
Wolfman. Or
It's
is it me or is it Eli or is it?
I think it's.
Because they got all
I think
mixed up
it's
when you left.
I think it's. I don't know.
Let's just go with me. That's fine.
Okay.
We'll go with me, and then we'll go over to Eli. We'll be good. Okay. So no, let's just do Eli first. Eli, go ahead.
Okay. So this one to me, I thought this game was fun. It's very different, playing as a vampire against, I want to say, Nazis. In my understanding what it was. But for its time, very particular game, very gory. And the game I'm going to present right now is Blood Rain.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Dude, I don't even remember what point we got that game, and I just know we had it one day. And damn, I still remember the first boss, and then all the freaking slicing you're doing, and then it was just a very bloody game. You know what I mean? You're some vampire Going against some Nazi regime, I think it was.
Yep.
Sounds like a winner to me.
Very campy, but tons of fun.
Oh yeah, dude,
Yeah.
it was a good time. It was a good time.
Yep.
I just that was one that was very memorable for me because I just don't remember at what point did we get it. We just know we just had it one day, and I was like, oh, this is great.
Just showed up. Just Magic Games apply. I wish I had Magic Games appear, dude. Like, not mine. I had to like sell blood and all kinds of stuff back in those days.
Like, what is the premise of the game? I know the game, like I've heard it. I have never played it.
Trying to remember. Oh, hold on.
Yeah, you got to stop. You got to stop, like Eli said. You got to stop the Nazi army. There's like a special artifact. You have like these vampire powers. I have it for PS2. I remember playing it. It was a lot of fun.
Cool.
I'm sure it's better on Xbox, but
no, maybe not, because there was a lot of those games that actually play way better on PlayStation 2 because they were developed for PlayStation 2 and then ported to Xbox.
Okay.
So, and I think Blood Rain was one of those ones.
Okay.
So
I mean, it looks like a PlayStation 2 game. The video I'm watching right now, just trying to figure out what's going on.
Would you say, Wolf, that it's kind of like a Bayonetta style?
Yeah.
Game?
A little bit.
The battle,
Yeah.
the way that the fighting is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
Like,
game.
Yeah.
It's gory though. I just
Yep.
watched her chop a guy in half.
Oh,
so.
yeah. Yeah.
There
Really
you go.
cool.
Dan trying to
Very
prove.
bloody.
Boom.
Definitely.
Stamped. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great pick.
Cool. I never played that one. I've seen
Yeah,
it,
I did.
and
No,
I
it's
won't
fun.
say I've never played it. I've probably played it over at a friend's house, but I never owned that one.
Yeah, I
So,
could vouch for Eli on that. Was a lot of fun. I don't remember. I don't know if I beat it but I definitely I own it. I remember playing it. I remember like, wow, this story is like really like kind of like a grindhouse kind of B type of movie, but it's super fun. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's just fun.
Big time.
Yeah.
cool.
That great pick.
I want to
Check
say
it
it's
out.
a second to Splatterhouse in terms of gore.
Yeah, the Splatterhouse remake.
Oh,
Yeah,
Splatterhouse.
baby. So good.
Ooh.
So good. We'll talk about that one when we talk about. Oh wait, we already did. I
Yes.
think we talked about it in PlayStation 3. But
Yeah.
all right.
Xbox 360 too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did they have
So
Splatterhouse?
let me see. So do we want to? Is it me now or is it you, Wolf?
I don't. I can tell you. I've done 2 games. I
Go.
don't know how
It's
many
you.
everybody's done.
It's
so
you.
it's me.
Yep.
Okay. So I am gonna pick. Geez, Eric Ostrom's probably cheering for me with all the role-playing games that I'm giving. I'm gonna go with another role-playing game. It's Xbox exclusive.
Cool.
I did not play it. Obviously, I didn't have an Xbox, so I didn't get a chance to play it until later. I god darn loved it. It's called Fable,
Oh, nice.
and it is to me it was a gem. It was everything from the Tim Burton did the opening of the game. I don't know if you knew that, and Fable actually was originally supposed to come out on Dreamcast.
Oh,
And
sounds about right.
they had to change that because Dreamcast was failing, as a system.
Yeah.
And Microsoft, I guess scooped them up. They had a gem on their hands because there's been several Fables to come out. Fable's great because it's kind of like, I don't want to say it's cartoony, but it's a third person role-playing game. You could learn spells, you got weapons, you could level up. It had towns. It just had a great story. It kind of sucked you in. There was a very controversial guy that was behind it. He was like real cocky. I remember when he was
Molyneux?
pitching. Yeah. Yes.
There he is.
I
There, you guys can see that guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would always like brag about how amazing this game is, and like, my game has alignments and you could pick good or evil. And it's like, yo, dude, there's been a lot of games that have alignments. So,
Yeah.
get off your high horse. but super. To me, if you have an Xbox, you have to play Fable. Whether and you might not like role-playing games, but it's definitely worth giving a try. It was just a lot of fun. Hooked me. Great story. Love the graphics, sound, everything. I don't know. I know there's some other Fable lovers in here. Anybody have anything they want to add to that? I think there was one. Didn't they add a game called Fable Lost Chapters? And it
Was that for
added
Xbox
some
or was that
things.
for 360?
Might have been.
I
It
don't-
might have been. I can't remember.
Sound off in the chat if you guys know and you're watching
Yeah.
this. Just
I
let
think
us know.
you're right. I think it was
'Cause
360.
I'm not looking that one up at the moment, but just let us know that where we missed the mark on that one. So
I think to your point, Wolf, the cool concept about that game was the whole persona of like if you can do good or evil, and when you do
Yep.
evil, you actually start seeing like horns patrolling from your
Yep.
head and gain dark magic
Yep.
and things like that. But it kills certain relationships and certain missions. So it was always a good yin and yang. Like you could do certain missions if you were good, or you could do certain missions if you were bad. You could, or something in between. So it was a good concept for its time. I agree. I've never
Definitely.
progressed it completely. It's something I might check out to see, because I like JRPGs.
Yeah.
I think,
It's a time suck. I mean, and that's something that I really bothers me because as I get older, I had my kids later in life, which was a mistake. So, I have I'm going to be 49 in like 2 weeks, and I have a 9-year-old, and
Dude, you
it's
look
just like taxing, man. So it's just
you
there's
look like
no
you're
more.
still in your 30s, Wolf.
Oh, thanks,
Yep.
man. And it's just you don't have time to sit down and invest, 50 hours in a role-playing game anymore like I did when I was in my 20s. So
yeah,
it's just tough
You-
to pick up this game and beat it and play it all the way through.
my challenge for that kind of stuff too is like, how long have I been away from Final Fantasy VII on my playthroughs, or Resident
I know.
Evil 4 on my playthroughs? Because
Yep.
I it breaks so much time in between. I forget where the frick I'm at, and I got to go back and try and figure. So I know I
Well,
feel
there's
your
too many
pain.
Games.
Yeah, it's
Like there are
Exactly.
literally too many games. Like you can't
Too many.
Well, my next game pick, it's the
Old man
exact same
problems.
problem. Like you don't have
Yep.
time to ever finish them all,
right.
because they're just so. But I'm reading right now. I never played Fable. I obviously know what it is,
Mhm.
but I never played it. It wasn't up my alley. But it does look like so. Playground Games are making a Fable 4 right
Nice.
now.
Oh.
Generation.
Whoa.
And so
Wow.
Playground Games sounds like they're the makers of Forza.
Oh,
so,
cool.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So that was announced in December of 2023. So
Nice. Well, that's cool
Cool.
because and that was one of the things on the first Xbox. Wolf, you said it earlier. Like there was hardly any JRPGs.
No.
This was
right.
one of the more popular games, Fable,
Definitely.
because there was not a whole lot of JRPGs out there, and it was a good game.
Yeah.
The biggest controversy with that was, Molyneux opening his mouth and stating stuff and spouting off all these things that it was going to do, and then most of that stuff was cut. That's the one thing that people remember that game for, is that you said it was going to do all these things, and then like 60% of it was cut. Well, but we had to hurry up, and I want to hear your excuses, but that's what it was. And so it's a great game. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But that's what I remember most about it, is that all these promises, the dude talking mess, puffing himself up, and then wah, wah, coming out there.
Cocky, strutting around like a peacock, just like you said. Oh, well, my game's gonna do this, this, and that, and it never made it. Never, it did have some elements like Eli talked about, which was cool, but a lot of the stuff that he promised it never made it in. So
yeah, cool.
Whatever.
All right. Next one. I think I'm up this time now. How many has everybody gone over? Has everybody done 3?
3.
Okay, good. This is my third one then.
Oh,
All
Eli
right.
did 4?
Left, so.
Eli did 4.
Oh, Eli did 4. Heck yeah, Eli. Yeah, you get extra. Eli's extra. Don't worry about it, dude. All right. So this one is, I will say, my favorite game on original Xbox. I'm just gonna say it, and the reason why it's my favorite game is the experience that it gave, and I haven't been able to match it anything else ever. I had online components. And the big part about it was the peripheral. So let me kind of show you what I'm talking about. It is. Oh wait, that's the one that I want to talk about first. But this one, Steel Battalion. Steel Battalion only came out for Xbox, and here's the reason that was the biggest issue. Look at the controller on there, dude. See that controller? So the game itself was almost as much as the Xbox was. I want to say the game was like $200 for it.
Could you only play it with the controller?
Correct.
Carson?
You had to have this controller to play it. So it came as a big box. You had this controller. There's 3 pieces. You put it together, and there's 30 or so different buttons on it and switches and toggle switches, and all of them do stuff. Like if you wanted to make yourself not seen by the enemy, you could toggle off all your power and all your fuel and all your oxygen. But guess what? If you leave that stuff off too long, you're gonna freaking die because you're gonna suffocate in your own mech. So you had all of these things. You're toggling your switches back on. There was a head control for where you were aiming. Then you had the torso, and then you had your legs. They were put gear shifts. This game was a freaking work of art. It still holds up. It's dope. If you ever get a chance to play it, you can't even play it on emulation if you guys have the availability because they don't support the controller, and you need to have the Steel Battalion controller to get the feel on it. And so when I say my favorite gaming experience, favorite game on Xbox, the original Xbox, I'm actually talking about this version of it, Line of Contact, because of that, the Xbox Live. The net code sucks. Capcom screwed the pooch on that one, so you couldn't play like they were supposed to 5v5. Can you imagine 5 vertical tanks rolling together? Awesome. But it rarely happened outside of Japan that people could run 5v5. And if you're running like I did with people all over the States and even some people over in Great Britain, the most you could hope for was 3v3. But even 3v3, dude, there's so many. Look this game up, watch some gameplay footage of it, and watch actual people playing together. People playing together, and actually if you can see, and it's hard because back in the day it was really difficult for people to screen capture with voice chat. But that was one of the biggest things, is being able to chat with your buddies, like the actual controller at the top. It had like a, let me see if I can zoom in over there. So the controller itself, it had a round dial on there. And so you could, the round dial, you would spin to which teammate you wanted to talk to, and then you would press the call button, which is one of those red buttons at the top, and your teammate would actually see the call button flashing, and you hear the beeping, and they would have to switch to that channel and click it to be able to talk together. That's what I'm talking about as far as
wow.
I'm watching a guy play it right now with controller.
Sim.
It's like a sim.
It
is like that true sim experience.
It is so
mixed, which is awesome.
Oh, dude, it is great. I freaking love this game. I want to play it using. This is one of the reasons why I've wanted to get and figure out how to use the tunnel to get Xbox to work again, because I want to play this game again. Now I do have 2 Xboxes, and I have 2 versions of Line of Contact. And there is a way that you can unlock, just so everybody knows, there is a way you can unlock all of the mechs available in here. It's a weird code. You got to spell out techie on the control panel. It's kind of weird, but you can do it. But I have the downloads done before we lost Xbox Live and before they took it down. So both of my Xboxes are set up. So you have all the availability of all the mechs to roll. And there's nothing cooler than rolling into battle. I'm going to give you a quick little story on this one to just explain. So I'm rolling into battle. I remember one time I'm in what's called a sheepdog. Sheepdog is like a scout mech. Very low power as far as armor and as far as firepower that it has. But it can locate other mechs on the actual on the board. So he has a special thing where he can mark like different mechs. Then he shoots a mark and he hits them, and it'll stay marked on everybody's screen for like 5 minutes. So it's a long mark. So I remember rolling in, and so I'm sheepdogging. I got my buddy who's in a Geralax. I think he was in a Geralax NSR. It's a specific type of Geralax. There was 3 or 4 of them. Actually, there was 4, I think. But he was our major tank, and I had another guy in a yellow jacket. That's a little bit of a faster mech. So we're rolling in. We don't know what they have chosen. But when you play it enough, you can kind of tell what most likely they chose by watching their team sortie. Because you can watch on the sub screen that's on your screen, you can cycle through it to like a back camera, front camera, but you can also look at points and sortie points for both teams. And when you sortie in a mech, it takes out of your sortie points. So when you start knowing which mechs are heavier, and all of a sudden you see that their sortie drops heavily, you're like, dude, this team is running heavy. They're most likely not running a sheepdog. So I'm gonna go and try and mark them as fast as I can, and hopefully with the NSR we'll be able to drop some cheddar a little bit further away. And so as I'm cruising around, I remember turning the corner, and one of them was what's called it. And those of you that have played this will know what it is. It was an Earth Shaker. I turned the corner, and Earth Shaker is a mech that's like no other mech. It is freaking like 4 times the size of every one. It has a huge EMP. Like these shoulders open up and it'll activate. It locks itself into the ground. It takes a second to charge, and it EMPs and shuts down all the enemy mechs in the strike zone. Actually, any mech that's in the strike zone, because it's like a fan. Dude, it was. I turn the corner and I go, oh god! I tag it and get out of there. And so they had an Earth Shaker, and they had something else that they were running that had a rail gun on it. And I was like, dude, we're screwed, you guys. There's no way we're gonna be able to take these ones down. And we actually ended up pulling that one out. But that's just an example of the feeling that you get. You're rolling with your buddies, you're shutting down. In that instance, we actually lured them into a small spot where we shut down, and because they scan, and if you're shut down, their marker will not lock onto you. And so people, as you're cruising, they'll just scan to make sure that there's no enemies, and they scan past us. And then we activate and fire up behind them. And that was the only way that we were able to pull that match out. But that's just an example of the experience that it cannot be matched. I have not found it matched anywhere else in any video game experience that I've ever had since then. But a great game.
Wow.
I wish I could tell you guys to play it, but I mean,
high praise.
It looks like it's going to cost me about $600 to play it if I want to on eBay. So.
I know. And again, I have 2. Luckily for me, I have 2 setups. So if you come and visit sometime, dude, we'll fire it up. We'll fire it up.
2 controllers?
Yeah, I got 2 full controllers, the 2 Xboxes. Yeah.
Wow. Why don't you ever stream that one day?
I did stream it. I've streamed it one time. Steel Battalion, the original Steel Battalion. Now, I haven't streamed playing multiplayer, but I've streamed the single player a little bit. And it's fun. I'll do it again for you, Eli. I'll do it again. But it's on my channel. So you can check it out. I think I have it under, what is it, Retro Love. I think I have a playlist called Retro Love or something. It's in there. You can check it out. It's a great game, though, guys. Great game. All right. Let's keep this party rolling. Horton, that's you.
Oh, am I up?
Yep.
So my last one, probably, I know how some people feel about this game and this series of games, but I came from in college with the original PlayStation. It might have been PlayStation 2. I'm trying to remember, but the original GTA. And so if people don't remember, the original Grand Theft Auto was a top-down. You basically, and the game was stupid. It's like you drove around, but you could get out of your car, which is kind of cool, right? Like you get out of your car, you could do some stuff, run back in, but it was a top-down view and everything else. And then so I just I didn't really like it. It was not like anything spectacular. And then so, because I think that came out in 97, 98-ish or something around those lines.
PS1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What year was that? But it was later in the PS1 cycle. It wasn't one of the first release games for PS1.
I think it came out probably, if I had to guess, probably around 94, maybe.
Oh, you think it was that early?
Yeah, I think 94, 95.
No, PS1 wasn't out in 94 yet.
Yeah, wasn't it?
The first PlayStation didn't come out till 95-ish, maybe 96.
Wolf's going to tell us. He's looking right now.
I'll tell you.
But I don't think Grand Theft Auto, I mean, it was a couple years down the line after the first PS1. I thought it might have been PS2, but maybe not. But anyway, so I kind of gave up on the series. So I never played Vice City, but my game, going back to the Xbox, where I kind of went back to it because it had a lot of kind of chat around it, was San Andreas. And
cool.
So it was kind of a game that I loved. It kind of, like Vice City, no offense, Eli, was kind of that Miami vibe and everything else, where San Andreas was LA. It kind of like all the characters on the cover looked like NWA. It looked like Easy. Everything else is like
straight out of Compton.
It looked like Easy, the one guy. It was just a cool game, and I got immersed. It was open world. It was like, and I got into it. But then back to Wolf, your point, like that was. Then I think I did finish San Andreas, but then later in life, I still buy them. I'm going to buy GTA 6. I actually went back and played Vice at that time because I was in my mid-20s or whatever it was. And so I was able to play those, beat those games. But now I can't get through them. They just take so long. Like even Grand Theft Auto 5, like I love it. It's a cool game. Like, and I bought it on 3 different systems, right?
Yep.
PC, Xbox, or Xbox 360 and the Xbox One. And it's like, oh, come on. They're so huge and they're so open world. And like people still play like Grand Theft Auto 5. It's still got a super active community and like people and everything else. So like for me, San Andreas on the original Xbox was the game that got me back into Grand Theft Auto, because after playing the first one, it was garbage. So
It was November 1997 when it came out for
okay,
PS1.
so yeah, it was later, because I remember playing it when I was later in college.
The first Grand Theft Auto, really? Wow.
Yeah,
It
was it's for the time. It was like you were used to even the PlayStation 1, like Tomb Raider and everything else. Like, and then this game comes out, Grand Theft Auto. It's a top-down kind of driver.
It makes sense. Makes sense, because when did N64 came out? Just before that too, right?
Yeah, right around then. Yep.
Yeah.
It was MS-DOS first.
Oh,
was it really?
Yeah, before it came to PS1.
I always think of Load Runner when I think of MS-DOS.
Yeah,
dude, I remember playing. That was one of the so funny. I'd play that on my dad's work computer when he was selling real estate. So good.
Oh, we can go hold down. Yeah. If we ever do a MS-DOS or Commodore 64 episode, count me in.
All right. Well, we did a PC, old school PC one with Adam. That was that one. So we can do a Commodore one.
I wasn't a huge PC gamer, like I said, but MS-DOS days. That's like when I was a kid. My dad had our home computer. Games were terrible, but it was still awesome at the same time. So
good. All right. So Eli, do you want to throw another one out there, or you want me to spin it to Wolf?
Spin it. Well, this one's just probably be a little bonus. It's a sports game. I personally liked it. Andy, if you're watching this, check it out. I think you would like it too, unless you played it. But it was called NFL FIFA 2004 for the Xbox. You could think of it as its version of Madden, but for the Xbox series.
It was awesome. Great call, Eli.
I love the NFL Fever series, dude. And I loved it too because I had secret teams like the Commandos and all the dude. And for its time, for what it was, it's like you could tell it was a Madden ripoff, but it was unique in its own way, dude. It was so good. And it was exclusive just for the Xbox too.
It's beautiful. Beautiful game too. Like it looked amazing. Like on the back of the Xbox box, I think I remember that was one of the launch titles, and it showed like just I totally forgot about that game, Eli. All those Fevers, they were so good, dude. Good call.
So good. So good. Especially if you like football. Check out FIFA for Xbox, man. I guarantee it's a good time for what it was.
Man. For sure.
It was amazing for the time period too, though. Like it was just smooth. Like they weren't blocky or anything. I mean, it was a cool game.
Agreed.
I think to this day people are replaying 2004 again, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just want to mix it up a little bit. And that game did play really, really well. Excellent. Excellent choice. Wolfman, last one?
All right. I alluded to this, so I'll make this quick. Earlier, I'm going to be talking about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3.
Yes.
And it's, and what I said earlier is the PS2 version is the inferior version. But anyway, if you've ever played a Tony Hawk game, every game, was incrementally getting better. And by the time it got to 3, you had vert combos, you had a kick flip button, you had hidden combos, you had like 13 characters you could choose from, you had hidden characters like Darth Maul and the Doom guy and Wolverine. And you had an additional level, which was big time, the oil rig level. And, the graphics were great. They were smooth. The frame rate was buttery, beautiful. The soundtrack was killer. I mean, to me, this is Tony Hawk was kicking at all cylinders. And then Tony Hawk kind of got whack. it got to like they started putting out like Wasteland and stuff, and it just like I don't know, it was losing its appeal to me. But the stuff that you could do like on the quarter pipe and the half pipe and just it was just bringing it to the next level, because I love Tony Hawk 2, but this was just even like brought it to the next level. And believe it or not, Tony Hawk 3 is one of the best-selling video games of all time. You could look it up, and Tony Hawk got like some major like giant bonus for how many units that game sold. Like he made like so much bank on the series, it was ridiculous.
Good for you, Tony.
Yeah,
Good for
awesome
you.
game. Just so much fun.
All the Tony Hawks. I agree.
Yeah.
I still think Tony Hawk, like, that still, to me, was just the quintessential, like, sit down and just play. Like, just don't have a ton of time, but I can just crank it out. In fact, I was right there with you, Wolf. Like, after Tony Hawk 3, I just gave up on the franchise and stuff until during the COVID or whatever, they re-released Tony Hawk on the Xbox Series X. Yeah.
Online capabilities.
Yeah.
I did not utilize it, but I can imagine that it must have been so dope to play with your friends online with this.
And so, like, I did download, like, the new, like, they remastered a lot of those old courses for the new generation of consoles and everything else. And I still, every once in a while, I'll hop on there and just skate around a little bit. I won't put the time and investment into it to collecting all the tapes and everything, but still, it's fun to just sit down and play it a little bit.
I think I bought it. I think I bought it for Xbox One, didn't it? They released it for that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, over COVID, they re-released it, and they had remastered a lot of the original.
Yeah, I bought it again. Yeah, because I stopped. I stopped then too. After 3, I was like, nope, I'm done. I don't need to play any of this stuff. But so much fun being able to string together stuff. Anybody that hasn't played Tony Hawk, being able to just how you're riding your wheelie and you're flipping onto stuff, and you can just see how long you can go, just multiplying and multiplying. You ended up on the top of the building, and you're ended up on park benches, and you're coming down on, so good. Such a good game. Such a good game. Yeah. All right. Is this it? This is it. Last game? Yeah. All right, last game. So this one I'm going to throw up a couple of games, but they're all in just one genre because I couldn't pick one, and I'm just going to go through them quickly. First one I'm going to talk about is the first Project Gotham Racing and Project Gotham Racing 2. I played this game, Project Gotham Racing 2, so much because look what it has up there, the Xbox Live. I played this one so much with my buddies. Dude, the game was so beautiful. Like, it just looked amazing. The graphics on this game. The next one I'll touch on again, another Xbox exclusive, is going to be Rally Sport Challenge. Do you remember this one? This is the one, if you want to do a lookup, there is, I want to say, where there's a story where a son, his father passed away, and he was racing, and his father's ghost was on here, and he could never beat his dad, and then all of a sudden he was about to beat his dad, and he let off the throttle because he didn't want to beat his dad. So,
I read about that. So
that's a cool story if you look it up. But this one great. But again, I played this one more because this one came out with the live online capability. So
what is that called?
Yep, online enabled. Yeah, look at that.
What's it called? Sport 2?
The Rally Sport. Sorry,
okay.
Rally Sport Challenge. So and then this one too, the original Rally Sport Challenge. Dude, but the graphics even on these games, dude, are just so good.
Damn.
Yeah, they're so nice, man. And then and the last one I'm going to touch on is this is where it all started, and it's still going. Forza Motorsports. So again, where is it at? The Xbox Live enabled, online enabled, only for Xbox. So again, the exclusives were freaking dope on Xbox, but they couldn't carry it like the Sony exclusives. But like this one, when you look at it, some of the selling points that hadn't happened before, like the brakes heating up and see they turning red and all that kind of stuff. This game was just amazing. They had muscle cars, they had actual like race cars. It's just such a good game. Look at all those manufacturers. But yeah, so the racing genre, I want to say, was another big thing for me on the original Xbox. Played a lot of that stuff. You'd think I'd play more racing games, than I do. But Xbox is probably the console I played the most racing games for, and I love all of them. There isn't one that I could pick over all of them. They were all really, really good. So I just want to touch on racing, original Xbox.
I got one for you.
I'm
I
ready.
want to see if you played it. I have it upstairs. I don't think it's that great, but we'll see if you. I forget the name of it, so have to look it up. It's like Sega. No, not Sega. It's something GT.
Oh, I have that. Yeah, Sega GT Online or something like that.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I actually.
Yeah, Sega GT 2002.
I have it, and I left it in the box when I was pulling some of those because I'm not gonna.
Good?
That one's not that good. No, that one's not that good.
Exactly.
Yeah, but just we're talking. Xbox is only out for a short amount of time, and there's a lot just in my hand right here. If you like racing games, this is a reason to play. Freaking get a Xbox and play these. Or
How about
do it on
Need
emulation.
for Speed Underground too.
Yep.
That was good.
Exactly. Need for Speed, all that stuff. It was the graphics, what the Xbox could do was unmatched at the time. And and it showed in their racing games.
All right,
really,
here's
really
another crappy racing game I have. Pro Race Driver.
good. Never played that one.
Well, don't.
Okay. This is
Yeah,
why you don't like Xbox. You're
I'm
like
not
oh,
endorsing that.
Yeah, you're
I'm
like,
not
oh man, I got
endorsing
all these crappy Xbox games.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pro Race Driver. It's oh my god.
Cool. All right, so we're now to the point though that we're going to talk about what we would think as far as grading goes. So we're going back, so refresh the memory for those of you that don't remember. We're looking at how the availability of the system and hardware, the availability and pricing of the games, and then do the games hold up today. Those are the three criteria that we're looking at. So
could I just and you're going to get mad at me, but could I just give one quick I'll take 1 minute because I think I want Eli to back me up on this.
I'm ready.
It's called Ninja Gaiden Black. And it's
not black, but
yes, exactly. So it's action adventure hack and slash Raya Hayabusa. It was reworked. It had additional content, new foes, updated mechanics. It even had an unlockable where you could play the Ninja Gaiden game from Nintendo on there. But the thing that really it got a lot of people hooked was the mission mode, because it just focused on the action instead of the character development. And it was about scoring and destroying enemies and the number of kills. But the thing that sets this game apart is the two modes. You had two difficulties. You had something like easy dog mode or something, and they would mock you for picking that mode.
Yep.
And then you had tough as balls master ninja mode, which by the way is so tough. I forget. Like I remember I was ready to throw the controller through the wall. That's how tough it is.
It is.
But I love that game. I something about Tecmo. I think right now I'm playing a game called Rise of the Ronin for PS5, made by the same company, and they are masters at the not game control, but the fighting and sword play that they incorporate in their games. To me, it's unmatched because Rise of the Ronin has that, and it had it in all of those Ninja Gaiden games like Ninja Gaiden Sigma, Ninja Gaiden Black. But man, I don't know, Eli, if you played it, it is, I could tell you I did not beat Ninja Gaiden Black. I got frustrated and almost destroyed the game.
I beat it.
It's hard, dude. It is hard. I didn't beat it either.
Is that tough? Congrats.
It's the hardest version of the game, yes.
Hard as...
Oh, dude, trust me. It takes patience.
Yeah. Yep.
It takes a lot of patience.
Oh, yeah. That's amazing, man. That's definitely a medal on your on your outfit there.
There's a part where you take the two nunchucks, your best advice is to max them out.
Yep.
And there's these ghost piranhas. There's a corner that they're going to be swarming you. You use that weapon and max out a bunch of orbs, and you can buy as many rebirths as possible. That's the strategy. But the problem is, most people go up to the Temple of Bosses
Yeah.
with rebirths because it's a boss after a boss. And then remember, you have to fight the 3 bosses together.
Yep.
Then you go to the center level where it's all flowers and it turns the whole thing into lava. And there's a big boss in the center you got to fight before you finally get to the final boss.
God bless you, my man.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I can't believe you beat that.
I don't think I ever made it past the 3 bosses, and I think you're right. I didn't
Yeah.
have enough rebirths, so but yeah. I never beat that one either. But I do have Ninja Gaiden Black. Didn't it come out for PlayStation 2 as well?
I don't remember Ninja Gaiden Black for PS2.
Okay.
No, just 3 came out for Xbox 360, and there's another one. 4 came out for 362 as well as Wii U.
Sigma came out for PS3, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be
yeah, which was the
similar.
lesser.
But Black, I think, was just
Xbox.
It's an Xbox exclusive only.
Thanks for throwing that one out, Wolf. Yeah, good call.
Yeah,
I
sorry,
totally forgot. Yep.
No, that's a gem, dude. I can't believe I didn't think about that one.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go back again. Thanks, Wolf. But the 3 criteria that we're looking at is going to be hardware, how available is it, and cost. Software, same thing, available and cost. And then do the games hold up? Are they playable today? Would you play it today? So I'll start off. That's normally, I think, how we do it, isn't it, Wolf? But I'll just start off.
Yep.
I'm going to say, as far as the Xbox goes, I actually have to drop it down a bit. I'm going to give it a B, believe it or not. And I might even drop it to a B-. And here's the reason. One of the main components to getting this Xbox is the online capability. But without the availability for these games to be played online, that takes a big chunk away of its charm. So, again, I'm going to leave it at a B. But because it does have some great games, it's not super expensive. The hardware, it does hold up. But if you are buying it, it's a PC. Like we're talking now 20-year-old PC. So you need to understand how to open it up. You need to understand how to clean it and dust it out. Make sure that the capacitors aren't leaking all over the place. Certain ones they're going to need maintenance on them. All the newer consoles that are based like this, they're going to need, the more complex, they're going to need some maintenance. But it is a brick. They hold up well until they don't. So that's why I'm going to say B. The games definitely hold up. They're not super expensive either. Great games, not super expensive. Don't let Steel Battalion deter you. It is expensive, that one, but it's mainly because of the controller. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, the controller itself. But the system is great. The games are great. But missing that online component now, that's really what's bringing it from an A down to a B, because it's just... But again, that could change if I look into, and I know there's a way to tunnel it out there and stuff, but not everybody's going to do that. I'm not going to jump on a game and see that there's 10,000 people playing this game anymore, right? It's going to be, I got to coordinate with my friends that have Xboxes, and we all got to be in on it at the same time, because there's 20 people worldwide playing total Xbox Live games. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's where I am on that one.
I feel that.
So I'm going the opposite direction from the standpoint of what it is and what it could. I'm looking at it from what it was at that point in time and looking at it from a historical lens. I'm giving it an A-. It was a beast of a console. Like, it was heavy, but it was a PC. Like, you could mod it. Like, you could still. In fact, I gave mine away to my sister. I'm going to ask for it back. I doubt it. She still has it, but I would still be using it today as a media center, right? Like, I could use, like I said, the XBMC with it. All the games would still play. I could use a CD player, a DVD player, whatever else. Like, for me, like, you might not be able to play it online, but for the time of what the console was at that point in time, like, it was amazing. But it was expensive, $300. So that was still kind of spendy for the time. The PlayStation 2 was cheaper. I think it was like $250 or something.
At that point, yeah, it had dropped.
Yeah.
It was $250.
So it was cheaper and everything else. So, like, overall value in terms of just for the Xbox exclusive games and everything else that you can, other than emulation and other things, for me, it was kind of the game changer. And I think it drove modern consoles into competition with Sony to drive Sony up and push them harder to get better. And so like for me, like I don't think you would have the PlayStation 5 today without that original Xbox. I just don't know if they would have evolved into the online gaming as well as they have and some of the other things. I think it pushed them into crossplay, all that kind of stuff. So for me, it's an A minus.
I agree with everything you said there. Good call.
Good, Eli.
Yeah, no, I had to. I'm right alongside Horton. I had to give it an A minus too. I honestly think if I did have a Xbox in front of me and I had a pile of games, I think, and I know some of them have the online capability, but I'm just gonna remember the fact, like, damn, dude, I remember just being able to enjoy this game on the original console. That's just what I want to remember, what it feels like, just hearing the disc spin one more time, seeing that beautiful intro from the hardware itself do it. Because I like the Xbox intro when it loads up. I think it's unique as hell.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's I even, even on my emulation, I let it ride because it's just like I just favor it so much. More than, just like the same way I would like the PlayStation showing the intro showing up. That's just how much I favor it though. But for its time, man, I just think what holds up to it is it just had particular exclusives that were just so good that you just can't get nowhere else. And that's the thing that really holds that one in, man. And it's just like that's what makes that their OG Xbox so well done, because you would kind of hope these games get remastered or they're not. And that thing's just forever holding on to it. And so I have to give it an A minus too. I do think, the online, I'm sure there's ways to probably mod the online again, if someone did dig that deep, I'm sure there has been. But I still think if we were presented right now with the original hardware, added some controllers, pop in some Halo, just playing PvP, dude, we'll have a fantastic time.
What do you think?
D from Wolf.
Yeah, what do you think, Wolf?
Well,
Hearing all this stuff.
Horton is he's like a Nostradamus. Back in the day, I would have given it a D, but I am like a fine wine. I age well over time, and I see a lot of the positives. I agree with what Eli said. Man, they got some killer exclusives. I think it's a really solid system. For me, it comes down to personal preference. I do not like the controller. So that, to me, that's a big minus for me. I prefer the Sony controllers over Xbox controllers.
The thumbsticks side by side, not angled off, right? Is that why?
It just doesn't feel right. None of the Xbox controllers ever feel right. So for me, my end grade is a C+.
Nice.
And that's today. It went from a D to a C+. And I could, if you twisted my nipples, I could go B-. But I'm gonna say C+.
Yeah.
The Rock's gonna come get you.
Yeah.
He was there on release day with Bill Gates.
He was. Yeah.
Bill Gates is gonna come out again with that.
Yeah. All of a sudden, Wolf leaves the chat. It's just gonna bounce out again.
Yeah.
So
Bill
good.
Gates, he's already visited me tonight, so I don't need any more Gates.
So, so this was great. Thanks for the sit down, you guys. It was fun chatting original Xbox, OG Xbox with you. I just love hanging out and just talking games. It was cool. We went all over the place. We talked about some, we went to DOS and all kinds of, we're all over the place. We got some PlayStation 5, some PS2 stuff in there, but Xbox, it does have its place in history. I think that it did force an evolution in console development that I don't believe we would be where we're at without it. So, yeah, that's. I just appreciate you guys being here. Wolf, partner in crime, thanks for hanging out with me. And excuse me.
Thank you. And while you're coughing, I will say, please, if you're enjoying the episodes, visit Dantron69K's channel. Lots of great stuff. Funny as hell, knowledgeable, always doing creative, neat things. And, we talk about this all the time. It takes 2 seconds to hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. So I think you won't be disappointed with the content. If you enjoy anything video game related, you should absolutely have him subscribe to your YouTube channel. If not, then you're a fool.
Well,
I'm going back to watch the Battalion video again, because I remember when you first did it, but I gotta Because you had you could see you using
Yeah.
the controller.
I had 3 cameras, I think, set up. I think I had
Yeah.
the main, and then I had one over the shoulder, and
remember
then
that
another over
one.
the shoulder.
Yeah.
So,
Remember it.
yeah, so I had quite a few set up there. But thank you, Horton, for coming and hanging out with us as well, man. I really do love it when you're on
Yes.
here. We don't get together enough on these, but I do appreciate you coming and hanging out. Same thing with you, Eli. Man, dude, I know you guys are super busy, and I know you taking time out of your schedule is rough, but these episodes, they're great when I roll with Wolfman. I mean, it's just a lot of fun. But being able to bring other ideas
God.
and perspectives and stuff into it,
Definitely.
it just adds a more well-rounded experience. And I just wanted to tell you that I appreciate you both, and thank you again for being here.
It's friends.
thanks for
It's
inviting.
friends getting together
Yeah.
and talking about games. What's better than that?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Welcome in, everybody. So until next time, y'all. Later.
Peace.
Cheers.
Peace.